Before the silence of the night truly settles in and your conscious mind begins to drift toward the edges of sleep, I need you to pause. Stop scrolling. Stop searching. There is a reason this specific frequency found you in this precise moment. In the infinite vastness of the digital universe, where billions of data points collide every second, you have arrived here. This is not a glitch in the algorithm. This is a reflection of your own internal state, a mirror held up by the quantum field to show you exactly where you stand. I want you to ask yourself a question, and I want you to answer it not with your logic, but with the raw honesty that lives in your gut. Do you feel it? That undeniable sensation that you are standing on the precipice of something massive, yet the ground beneath your feet refuses to move. It feels like you are pushing against an invisible membrane, a barrier that separates who you are from who you know you are meant to be. It is a strange, haunting paradox. You feel the electricity of change in the air, the hum of potential vibrating in your cells, yet your external reality seems frozen in time. It is like standing at the threshold of a massive, ornate door. You can see the light bleeding through the cracks. You can hear the sounds of a new life humming on the other side. You can almost smell the freedom. But the handle, it will not turn. No matter how much force you apply, no matter how much you plead or demand, the door remains shut. And so, you are left in the hallway, waiting. This sensation often visits you when the sun goes down, doesn't it? When the distractions of the day fade away and the noise of the world quiets down, that is when the unrest begins to stir in your chest. It is a whisper that refuses to be silenced. It is a knowing, ancient and deep, telling you that the patterns you are living, the routine you are looping, the reality you are accepting, it is too small for the spirit that inhabits your body. You look at your life and you see the effort. You have not been lazy. You have been doing the work. You have been rewriting your thoughts, curating your mindset, and speaking affirmations into the glass of your bathroom mirror until the words felt like a foreign language. You have consumed the books, listened to the podcasts, and saved the wisdom. You have held onto hope with a grip so tight your knuckles have turned white. You have tried to vibrate higher. You have tried to align. And yet, when the silence inevitably returns, you are left alone with that gnawing, terrifying question that echoes in the void of your mind. What am I missing? Why does the breakthrough feel so close I can taste it on my tongue, yet it remains perpetually just beyond the reach of my fingertips? Why does it feel like I am running a marathon on a treadmill, expending all this energy only to remain in the exact same coordinate in space and time? If these words are vibrating in your chest right now, if you feel a resonance in your solar plexus, then listen closely. I'm going to tell you something that your soul has been waiting to hear for lifetimes. You are not broken. You are not defective. You have not failed. There is no secret code that everyone else has deciphered while you were left in the dark. You are not lacking a magic ingredient. The frustration you are feeling, that intense pressure building up behind your eyes and in the center of your heart, it is not the symptom of failure. It is the symptom of expansion. It is the visceral sensation of your energetic body growing larger than the physical container that currently holds it. Think about the laws of physics. Expansion creates pressure. When a star is about to be born, the pressure is immense. When a seed is about to shatter its shell to push through the soil, there is resistance. You are interpreting this pressure as a sign that you are stuck, but in the language of the quantum field, this pressure is evidence that you are ready. I am sharing this with you tonight because there is someone listening who needs to understand this before they drift into the unconscious state of sleep. You need to rewrite the narrative of this moment. You have not been trapped in a cage. You have entered a chrysalis. You have entered a pause. And the distinction between being trapped and being in a pause is the difference between suffering and transformation. Most people navigate this phase completely wrong. We are conditioned by a society that worships hustle and force. We are taught that if a door does not open, we should kick it down. We believe that transformation requires more grit, more discipline, more sheer force of will. We think we need to scream louder at the universe. But this is not how quantum shifts occur. This is not how you collapse a new timeline. Authentic transformation is not an act of war against your current reality. It is an act of release. It happens when something deep within your core finally unclenching its fist. It happens when you stop fighting the old version of yourself long enough to receive the new one that has been hovering in your field, waiting for permission to land. Your consciousness is exhausted right now. I know you feel it. A bone-deep weariness that sleep does not seem to touch. This exhaustion is not because you are weak. It is not because you do not have enough stamina. It is because you are carrying around a dead weight. You are dragging the corpse of a version of yourself that no longer fits who you have become. You are carrying old beliefs about your worthiness that were programmed into you before you could speak. You are carrying ancient narratives about how hard life has to be, about what is possible for someone like you. You are carrying boundaries and limitations that you accepted as permanent laws of physics, when in reality, they were just suggestions from a fearful society. You have already outgrown these containers. Your energy has already expanded beyond them. But because you have not physically set them down, you feel the drag. You feel the heaviness. This is why your motivation flickers like a dying candle. This is why your ability to manifest feels glitchy and unstable. You are attempting to build a skyscraper on a foundation meant for a shack. You are trying to construct a quantum existence using blueprints that are obsolete. You are trying to run a new operating system on hardware that has not been upgraded. The glitch isn't you. The glitch is the incompatibility between where you are going and what you are still holding on to. This is the subtle mechanism that keeps the door locked. It is not an external force blocking you. The universe is not withholding your desires to teach you a lesson in patience. The quantum field is neutral. It simply responds to the signal you are broadcasting. And right now, your signal is mixed. You are broadcasting a desire for the new, while simultaneously holding a death grip on the energetic signature of the old. This creates a frequency dissonance. It creates static in the field. And in that static, you feel stuck, but the static is clearing. The fact that you are here, listening to this, engaging with this frequency, means the clearing has already begun. You must understand that the heaviness you feel is simply gravity. It is the gravitational pull of the past, trying to keep you in orbit around a star that has already burned out. But you have reached escape velocity. You just haven't realized it yet. The engines are firing. The vibration is intense. It feels like the whole ship is shaking apart. But this shaking is not destruction. It is the final separation from the old atmosphere. You are about to break through into the silence of deep space, into the realm of infinite potential. So, as you sit in this space tonight, I want you to honor the pause. Do not rush to fill it with noise. Do not rush to fix it with more doing. This pause is the womb of creation. It is the void from which all light emerges. You are not waiting for something to happen to you. You are waiting for the integration to complete within you. You are in the process of recalibrating your entire energetic system to handle the voltage of the life you are asking for. If you were to receive everything you want right now, without this recalibration, your nervous system would fry. You would sabotage it in a week because your current baseline could not sustain that level of frequency. This time, this frustrating, silent, heavy time, is a gift. It is the universe installing the new wiring. It is the upgrade, and the only thing you need to do right now is stop resisting the operation. Stop trying to wake up from the surgery before it is finished. Breathe into the discomfort. Breathe into the unknown. Acknowledge that you are in the middle of a massive quantum transition. The old you is fading, and the new you is not quite solid yet. You are ghost-like, existing between two worlds. This is the liminal space. This is the holy ground of transformation, and you are standing right in the center of it. Here is the piece of the puzzle that almost every spiritual teacher, every motivational speaker, and every success guru leaves out. They tell you to push. They tell you to visualize. They tell you to want it bad enough. But your subconscious mind does not give a single damn about how hard you try. It does not respond to your ambition. It does not respond to your vision boards or your 5-year plans. It responds to one thing and one thing only: safety. And this is where the wires get crossed in the most heartbreaking way. To your ancient biological operating system, safety does not mean happiness. Safety does not mean wealth. Safety does not mean love. To your subconscious, safety simply means familiarity. It means survival. It means the known. Your mind is a pattern recognition machine designed for one primary function: to keep you alive in a dangerous world. It learns what has kept you breathing up until this second, and it fiercely protects that state. If struggle has been your baseline for the last 10 years, if waiting has been your primary state of existence, if almost making it has been the looping narrative of your life, your subconscious has tagged those states as safe. Why? Because you survived them. You are here. You lived through the lack. You lived through the heartbreak. You lived through the stagnation. Therefore, to the primitive part of your brain, those environments are certified survivable zones. So, when you try to quantum leap into a new reality of abundance, ease, and flow, your internal security system sounds the alarm. It does not see a pot of gold. It sees the unknown. It sees a threat. This is why you can desire something with every fiber of your being. You can ache for it in your soul and still feel completely blocked from receiving it. You are not fighting the world. You are fighting your own biological programming. Your mind continues to recreate the experiences of struggle, not because it hates you and not because you are destined to suffer, but because it loves you. It is protecting you in the only way it knows how, by keeping you in the familiar territory of the past, even if that territory is painful. This is why manufactured positivity always fades. This is why willpower eventually runs out of battery. You are trying to override a master program with a temporary patch. You are trying to fight a supercomputer with a sticky note. The obstacle standing between you and that quantum shift is not in your external world. It is not the economy. It is not your boss. It is not your family. The obstacle is an outdated software program running silently in the background of your psyche, beneath the level of your conscious awareness. Consider this from the perspective of your nervous system. This is where the metaphysical meets the biological. Your life takes shape based on what your nervous system has been conditioned to expect, not what your conscious mind says it desires. These are two very different frequencies. Your conscious mind is shouting, "I want freedom," but your nervous system is whispering, "Stay low, stay hidden, stay safe." These expectations determine what you perceive. They act as a filter on the lens of your reality. Right now, there are millions of opportunities swirling around you. There are synchronicities happening in the invisible field every single second, but you cannot see them. You physically cannot register them because your system is calibrated to an earlier version of you. It is calibrated to the version that needed to stay guarded to survive, the version that learned caution as a love language, the version that was taught that reaching too high results in a fall. That version served its purpose. It kept you alive during the storms of your past, but that version is not who you are anymore. This misalignment is exactly what you are sensing when you feel that restless friction in your chest, that impatience, that agitation, that voice screaming, "There must be more than this." That is the sound of your soul trying to break up with your history. You are right, there is more, but you cannot access the more while your nervous system is bracing for the less. This is why we are having this conversation tonight. This is why this transmission had to reach you before you drifted off to sleep, because sleep is the gateway. Sleep is the back door into the mainframe. When the sun is up and you are moving through the density of the day, your analytical mind is standing guard at the gates of your subconscious. It is holding a weapon, checking IDs, rejecting any new information that contradicts your established identity. If you try to tell yourself, "I am wealthy," in the middle of a stressful workday, the guard laughs and says, "No, look at your bank account." The rejection is immediate. But as exhaustion settles in, something magical happens to the biology of your brain. When your defenses lower, when the analytical mind begins to blur and quiet down, the guard leaves the post. This is when your deeper consciousness becomes receptive. This is the golden hour of reprogramming. You do not need to battle yourself tonight. You do not need to force yourself to believe in miracles. You do not need to repair your trauma in a single sitting. You simply need to plant a new instruction when the system is wide open to integration. Before we move deeper into this mechanics of the soul, I want you to do something for me right now. Stop whatever you're doing. Unclench your jaw. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Take one slow, deliberate breath. Not a forced breath, just a natural expansion of your lungs. Allow your body to understand, just for a microsecond, that vigilance is not required right now. There is no tiger in the room. There is no email that cannot wait. You are safe. Here is something critical you must understand if you want to master the quantum game. Manifestation is not about drawing things toward you through sheer force of gravity. It is not about reaching out with energetic hooks and dragging your desires into your timeline. It is about dissolving the resistance that has been pushing them away. It is about aerodynamics. The less tension you hold, the more naturally things flow toward you. The universe abhors a vacuum, but it also cannot enter a closed fist. The more your system relaxes into a state of trust, the more reality begins meeting you in the middle. This is why the biggest breakthroughs often arrive the moment you stop striving. You have likely experienced this. You push and push for an outcome, and nothing happens. Then, the moment you give up, the moment you say, whatever, the phone rings. The email comes through. The solution appears. This is not a cruel joke. This is physics. When you stop striving, you stop emitting the frequency of lack. Striving implies you do not have it. Surrender implies you trust it is coming. Surrender carries its own intelligence. You were never meant to exist in perpetual tension. You were never meant to chase alignment like a hunter chasing prey. Alignment emerges when you stop fighting your own current. Your only task right now, in this sacred pause, is to allow a new baseline to establish itself. A baseline where things work in your favor. A baseline where support appears before you even ask for it. A baseline where progress feels organic, like a river flowing downstream, rather than forced, like dragging a stone uphill. Your mind has been trained to scan for threats for so long that it has become a virtuoso at identifying problems. You are a genius at finding what is wrong. You can walk into a room and spot the flaw in seconds. This was useful for your ancestors in the wild. It kept them from being eaten. But in the modern world, this mechanism is a cage. It traps you in a frequency of error. But here is the good news. The brain is plastic. It is malleable. It can learn something new just as easily as it learned the old patterns. It can learn to scan for opportunities. It can learn to scan for synchronicities. It can learn to scan for evidence that you are being held and supported by a benevolent universe. And this retraining begins with what you allow to settle into your consciousness in the final moments before you lose consciousness tonight. But here is what most people do not realize about this process. When you have spent years, maybe even decades, conditioning your system to anticipate difficulty, your body has created entire neural highways dedicated to that expectation. These are not small footpaths in the forest of your brain. These are 8-lane superhighways paved with concrete. Every time you think a negative thought, every time you expect the worst, you are driving another truck down that highway, reinforcing the pavement, making it smoother, faster, and more automatic. Your nervous system does not question the destination of the highway. It does not ask, does this road lead to happiness? It only asks, is this road fast? Is it familiar? And because the road to worry is the most traveled, your thoughts slide down it effortlessly. This is why you can consciously want to be positive, but 5 seconds later, you find yourself spiraling into anxiety. Your conscious mind is trying to hack a path through the dense jungle with a machete, while your subconscious is cruising at 100 miles per hour down the highway of fear. It is not self-sabotage, it is efficiency. It is how your system was designed to function to conserve energy. The brain prioritizes efficiency and survival over your personal expansion. It would rather you be miserable and alive than risky and dead. But we are hacking that system tonight. We are intervening in the automated process. When I say you need to introduce a new instruction, I am not talking about those flimsy affirmations that sit on the surface of your brain like dust. I am happy, I am happy, I am happy, while your stomach is engaging in knots. That is useless. I am talking about reaching the deeper layers of your operating system, the kernel level, the place where your baseline expectations live, the root directory, and the most powerful, most potent time to access this layer is in the liminal space between waking and sleeping, the twilight zone. Think about what happens in your consciousness right before you fall asleep. The logical mind begins to dissolve. The inner critic, that voice that narrates your failures all day long, finally grows quiet. The defenses that guard your identity during the daylight hours start to fade away like mist. In this specific state, you are essentially accessing the same brainwave frequencies used in deep, transcendental meditation. You are entering the theta state. This is the sweet spot. This is the magic frequency where the subconscious mind becomes highly suggestible. This is not mystical, woo-woo thinking. This is hard neuroscience. When you are in theta, the barrier between your conscious intentions and your subconscious programming thins to the transparency of a veil. You can reach through it. This is why children absorb information so rapidly during their early years. From birth until about age 7, children spend the vast majority of their waking life in a theta state. They are literally in a hypnotic trance, downloading the rules of reality from their parents and their environment without any filter. They do not question, they just download. Money is hard to get, downloaded. Love is painful, downloaded. I am not good enough, downloaded. This is why hypnotherapy works. It artificially induces this state to rewrite the script. And this is why what you consume, what you think, and what you feel in the last 30 minutes before sleep has such a profound, disproportionate impact on your internal world. Your system is literally downloading new information to process during the 8 hours you are offline. You are queuing up the code compilation for the night. If you fall asleep worrying about your bills, you are commanding your subconscious to marinate in the frequency of lack for 8 hours. You are telling your brain, this is important. Figure out more ways to feel this. And you wake up exhausted, heavy, and already behind. But if you change the input, you change the processing. Tonight, you are planting a seed, not through striving, not through desperate praying, but through allowing. As you lie down later in that dark, quiet space, I want you to gently repeat one simple truth. Do not dissect it. Do not analyze it. Do not look for proof of it in your bedroom. Just allow the words to move through your mind like a gentle breeze. I am allowed to experience ease now. Let that statement land. Feel the weight of it. I am allowed to experience ease now. You do not need to know how. You do not need the mechanics. You do not need a schedule or a roadmap. You do not need evidence from your past. Your system simply needs to hear that ease is no longer a dangerous intruder. Because here is another layer most people miss. A layer that keeps them trapped in the loop for years. For many of you, ease actually feels threatening. It feels suspicious. Somewhere along the way, in the timeline of your life, you learned a terrible lie. You learned that if things feel too easy, something must be wrong. You learned the concept of the calm before the storm. You learned that you have to earn rest. You have to earn peace. You have to earn good outcomes through the currency of suffering. You believe deep down that you must pay a tax of pain before you are allowed to be happy. You learned that struggle equals worthiness, that if you are tired, you are good. If you are stressed, you are important. And conversely, you learned that ease equals laziness. Ease equals delusion. Ease means you are dropping the ball. This belief runs so deep in the collective consciousness that when life starts to finally flow, when things begin aligning, when opportunity appears without you having to bleed for it, your system panics. It interprets the ease as a red flag. It thinks it's too quiet. Something is coming. So, what does it do? It manufactures a problem. It picks a fight with your partner. It remembers a bill you forgot. It obsesses over a weird noise in the car. It creates drama because drama feels normal. Drama feels like proof you are alive and engaged. Chaos feels like home. But what if ease is not a warning sign? What if ease is actually the frequency of truth? What if ease is the natural state of the universe? What if the struggle you have been taught to glorify is simply resistance to your natural current? Look at the cosmos. Look at nature. Does a planet struggle to orbit the sun? Does it need a motivational speech to keep moving? Does a tree struggle to grow? Does it force its leaves to photosynthesize through sheer willpower? Does it affirm its way into producing fruit? No. It simply receives what it needs. It stands in its nature, sunlight, water, nutrients. It accepts them and allows its inherent intelligence to unfold. The growth happens because the conditions are right and the tree is not resisting its own existence. You are the same. You are not separate from nature. You are the apex of it. You have an inherent intelligence within you, a quantum blueprint for your expansion, a natural trajectory toward your fullest, most magnificent expression. It is coded into your DNA. It is woven into your soul. But unlike the tree, you have a complex brain that has been conditioned to doubt this intelligence. You have been taught to override it. You have been taught that nothing worthwhile comes without a fight. So tonight, as you introduce this new instruction, I am allowed to experience ease. You are not adding something foreign to your system. You are not trying to become someone you are not. You are removing the interference. You are clearing the static so the music can play. You are removing the blocks that have been damming up the river of your life. If emotion surfaces when you say this, welcome it. If you feel a sudden urge to cry, let it flow. That is the ice melting. If resistance appears, if a voice says this is stupid, observe it without criticism. Do not fight the voice, just nod at it. That is simply the old operating system trying to run one last security check. It is the old guard recognizing its replacement. You are safe to let go. You are held by a force much larger than your worries. You are not delayed. You are gathering energy. This is merely the beginning of the shift. Let me offer you a perspective shift that might just shatter the glass ceiling you have been staring at for years. The intensity you are feeling, that crushing weight, that sense of being backed into a corner with nowhere to turn, that is not a sign that you are stuck in the mud. It is not a sign that the universe has forgotten your address. That sensation is the specific, unique signature of a consciousness that is resting right on the razor's edge of a quantum shift. You are not buried, you are planted, and the pressure, that is just the necessary friction required to burst the hull of your old reality. In the realm of quantum physics, there is a fascinating, almost magical principle known as quantum tunneling. It completely defies the logic of the physical world we think we live in. In classical physics, if a particle encounters a barrier that is higher than its energy level, it should bounce off. It should be trapped. It is like throwing a tennis ball at a brick wall. It is not going to go through. But in the quantum world, particles do not play by these rigid rules. A particle can approach a barrier that should be impossible to cross, and instead of climbing over it or smashing through it with force, it simply vanishes from one side and instantaneously reappears on the other. It tunnels through the fabric of space-time itself. It does not accumulate the energy to break the wall. It does not spend 10 years going to the gym to get strong enough to punch through the wall. It simply exists in the probability of being on the other side, and then, in a flash of zero time, it is there. Your consciousness operates on this exact same architecture. You have been trying to climb the wall. You have been trying to gather enough money, enough confidence, enough proof, and enough plans to scale the barrier of your current life. And you are exhausted because you are trying to apply Newtonian physics to a quantum soul. You do not need to accumulate more. You do not need another certification. You do not need more techniques. You simply need to allow your frequency to match the reality that exists on the other side of the wall. The moment your internal system accepts that possibility, not as a fantasy, but as a valid coordinate in reality, the shift happens. And it happens instantaneously. This is what people mean when they talk about overnight success after 10 years of silence. The breakthrough itself was never gradual. The preparation was long, yes. The building of the foundation took time. But the shift, the moment the identity clicked, that happened faster than the speed of light. One moment you are a person for whom life is a constant uphill battle, and the next nanosecond you are a person for whom doors swing open upon approach. Nothing in the external world changed first. The furniture is the same, the bank balance is the same, but the observer changed. And because the observer changed, The reflection in the mirror of reality has no choice but to rearrange itself. This is why tonight is so significant. You are tired of the old pattern. Good. Exhaustion is often the precursor to surrender. You are standing in the liminal gap between the history you are leaving and the future you are sensing. This is the most fertile ground in the universe. Now, we need to talk about the architect of this reality. We need to talk about attention. Most people think their attention is just a passive camera lens, simply recording whatever is happening in front of them. You think you look at the world and you see the truth, but that is backward. You are not recording the world, you are projecting it. Attention is the currency of creation. It is the invisible ink that writes the story of your life in real time. It determines what expands and what contracts. It determines what feels accessible to you and what feels like a distant dream. And the tragedy is that most people are giving this currency away like it has no value. Your attention has been hijacked. It has been programmed by algorithms, by trauma, by the news cycle, and by the emotional patterns of your past. It operates on a default setting that you did not choose. You open your eyes in the morning, and before your feet even touch the cold floor, your mind begins its familiar, frantic scan. It is like a searchlight sweeping a prison yard. It looks for the problems. It catalogs the aches in your body. It remembers the argument from yesterday. It highlights the empty space in the bed or the empty space in the bank account. It checks the waiting status of your desires. Is it here yet? No. Is it here yet? No. This scan happens so rapidly that you barely register it as a choice. It feels like the truth. But every single time your attention locks onto what is missing, you are sending a powerful, coherent signal to the quantum field. You are broadcasting a request. You are saying, this is real, this is valid, give me more of this. You are not doing this because you are a masochist. You are doing it because consciousness follows focus. This is why your manifestation efforts feel so unreliable. You sit for 20 minutes in meditation, visualizing abundance, feeling the joy, seeing the light. But then you spend the other 15 hours of your waking day obsessing over the lack of it. You spend 20 minutes building the new house and 15 hours reinforcing the foundation of the old one. The math does not work in your favor. Think of your attention as a high-powered laser beam in a dark room. Wherever that laser points, the energy in that spot begins to heat up. It begins to move. It begins to materialize. If that laser is consistently illuminating the concept of struggle, then struggle becomes the most energized, solid thing in your world. If it illuminates waiting, then you get stuck in the waiting room. You become a master at waiting. You could win a gold medal in waiting. But here is the secret that changes everything. You do not need to control every single thought that swims through your brain. That is impossible. That is a recipe for madness. Thoughts will arise like bubbles in boiling water. That is natural. But attention is a choice. It is a muscle. You can choose moment by moment where to aim the beam. Let's go deeper into the science of this because I want you to understand that this is not just poetic metaphor. In quantum mechanics, there is a phenomenon that has baffled scientists for a century. It is called the observer effect. It has been proven in laboratories over and over again. It demonstrates that the mere act of observation affects the behavior of subatomic particles. When a system is not being observed, it exists as a wave of infinite possibilities. It is everything and nothing all at once. But the moment a conscious observer looks at it, measures it, or pays attention to it, that wave collapses. It snaps into a single defined particle. The observer literally collapses the wave function of possibility into a specific, hard reality. Your life is a quantum system. You are the observer. You're not sitting in the audience watching the movie of your life. You are the projector, and the film is your focus. Every moment, there are countless potential realities existing around you in a state of superposition. There is a version of reality where you are thriving. There is a version where you are healed. There is a version where you are deeply loved. And there is a version where you are stuck. broke, and alone. All of these are equally real in the quantum field. They are all available frequencies on the radio dial. Your attention is the hand that turns the knob. Your attention selects which of these hovering ghosts becomes your flesh and blood experience. When you wake up and focus on how tired you are, you collapse the wave function into fatigue. When you focus on how far behind you feel, you collapse the wave function into delay. You are constantly hardening the fluid nature of reality into concrete blocks of the way things are. And most people live their entire lives in a prison of their own observation. They say, "I'll believe it when I see it." But the quantum law states, you will see it when you believe it. You have to observe the possibility before it can become the reality. And because nobody taught us this in school, we let our attention run on autopilot, guided by the oldest, most fearful parts of our brain. Your attention is currently calibrated to scan for danger. This served you well when we lived in the wild. If you heard a rustle in the bushes, it was beneficial to assume it was a lion and not a bunny rabbit. The pessimist survived, the optimist got eaten. So, your genetic lineage handed you a brain that is biased toward negativity. It is a survival mechanism. It is trying to keep you safe by predicting the worst-case scenario so you can prepare for it. But you are not on the savannah anymore. You are in a universe that responds to your frequency. That old strategy of hypervigilance, of constantly scanning for what is wrong, is now the very thing that is keeping you small. It is keeping you locked in a timeline of survival, preventing you from shifting into a timeline of creation. You can start to notice where your focus drifts. You do not have to beat yourself up when you catch yourself spiraling. Just notice it. Oh, look, I am focusing on the lack again. I am collapsing the wave of poverty again. And then gently, without force, you redirect the beam. You shift the camera angle. Instead of asking, "Why is this taking forever?" which focuses on the time delay, you shift to, "Movement is happening beneath the surface, even if I cannot see it yet." That single subtle shift in language and focus changes the signal. It signals your system to release the emergency brake. It communicates to your body that there is no tiger. And when the body releases, consciousness becomes fluid again. The wave function loosens up. Possibility returns. This brings us to the physiological bridge. You need to understand what is happening in your meat suit, in your biology, when you make this shift, because you cannot manifest a new reality from a body that is stuck in fight or flight. It is biologically impossible. When your attention locks onto a threat, whether that threat is a bill, a text message, or just a fearful thought, your nervous system activates the sympathetic response. Your amygdala, that almond-shaped alarm bell in the center of your brain, slams the panic button. It sends a cascade of chemistry flooding through your veins. Cortisol and adrenaline surge. Your heart rate spikes. Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Your blood vessels constrict. Your body pulls blood away from your digestive system and away from your prefrontal cortex, the thinking, creative, divine part of your brain, and pumps it into your muscles. It prepares you to run or to fight. In this state, you are literally dumber. You are less creative. You are reactive. You are an animal cornered in a cage. You cannot access higher wisdom. You cannot see the big picture. You can only see the immediate threat. And in survival mode, you can only recreate the past. You can only do what you have done before because that is what is recorded as safe. There is no room for the new. There is no room for the quantum leap. You are just trying to get through the next 5 minutes. Now contrast this with what happens when you gently redirect your attention toward openness, toward trust, toward the idea that things are working out. Your nervous system begins to shift gears. It moves into the parasympathetic mode. The vagus nerve, which wanders from your brain down to your gut, starts to hum a lullaby to your organs. It signals safety. Cortisol levels drop. Your heart rate variability increases, which is the prime marker of a resilient adaptive system. Blood flow returns to the prefrontal cortex. The lights turn back on in the master control room of your brain. This is the seat of your imagination. This is the antenna that receives signals from the quantum field. In this state, you are no longer surviving. You are creating. You are open. You are expansive. This is the state where the miracles happen. This is where you receive the download, the idea, the impulse that changes everything. This is where you bump into the person who has the key to your next door, not because you forced it, but because your physiology was calm enough to perceive the door in the first place. You have far more control over this internal chemistry set than you realize. You have been letting the external world dictate your internal state, but the master reverses that flow. The master dictates the internal state and watches the external world adjust to match it. Right now, your nervous system is the gatekeeper. When it senses urgency, it slams the gate shut. When it senses safety, it swings the gate wide open. You have seen this pattern in your own life. Think about the times you were desperate for a text back. You checked your phone every 3 seconds. You stared at the screen. You felt sick. And nothing came. Then, the moment you finally got busy, the moment you finally forgot about it for an hour and relaxed, ping. That was not a coincidence. That was you stopping the interference. That was you moving from a state of resistance to a state of reception. This brings us to the core mechanism of how you actually interface with the world around you. This is not random luck. This is not coincidence. This is coherence. You have likely heard the term, but I want you to understand it as a law of physics rather than a spiritual buzzword. Coherence is a measurable physiological state where your heart, your brain, and your nervous system synchronize into a unified rhythm. They stop fighting each other and start playing the same song. Research from institutes dedicated to studying the heart's intelligence has shown something profound. When you enter this state of coherence, the electromagnetic field generated by your heart, which is the most powerful rhythmic energy source in your body, becomes organized. It becomes structured. It expands. This field is not metaphorical. It is measurable. It extends several feet beyond your physical skin, creating a bubble of energy that you walk around in all day. This field interacts with everything. It interacts with the fields of other people. It interacts with the atmosphere of a room. And it interacts with the broader quantum field of possibility. When you are in coherence, you literally become a magnet. And I do not mean that in a poetic sense. I mean it scientifically. An organized electromagnetic field draws things into its orbit. It influences the environment. When you are in a state of stress, anxiety, or fragmentation, your field is chaotic. It is jagged. It repels. But when you establish coherence, your signal becomes clear and reality begins to organize itself around you. This is why people often describe being in the flow or in the zone, where everything just clicks. The traffic lights turn green. The right song comes on. The perfect words fall out of your mouth. You are not forcing the world to behave. You are broadcasting a frequency of order, and the world is reflecting it back to you. But here is the catch. Coherence cannot exist in the same space as chronic stress. It cannot exist when you are constantly scanning for threats. Your system must feel safe enough to drop the armor and open the field. It must move from protection mode into connection mode. And this is where the practice I am about to give you becomes the most important tool in your arsenal. Tonight, I want you to practice something deceptively simple. You do not need to do it perfectly. You do not need to be a Zen master. You just need to be willing. When you notice your attention being pulled toward the gravity of worry, do not fight it. Do not judge yourself for having the thought. Simply redirect the energy. Treat your mind like a small child wandering toward a busy street. You do not scream at the child. You gently take their hand and guide them back to the sidewalk. Bring your focus back to the sensation of your breath. Bring it back to the feeling of the mattress supporting your spine. Bring it back to the simple, undeniable fact that you are here, you are breathing, and you are safe in this micro moment. This trains your system to remain in the now. And the now is the only place where you have any power. The past is a memory. The future is a hallucination. The present is the control panel. Let me give you the specific technique that acts as a manual override for your nervous system. Before you drift into sleep tonight, I want you to physically place one hand over the center of your chest, right over your heart space. Place the other hand on your belly. This physical touch creates a closed circuit of energy in your body. It signals immediate safety to the mammalian brain. Feel the rise and fall of your hand as you breathe. Do not try to force a deep breath. Do not try to do spiritual breathing. Just let the body breathe you. As you settle into this rhythm, imagine that you are breathing directly through the center of your chest. Visualize the air entering through your heart and leaving through your heart. And as you do this, I want you to silently repeat a specific frequency code to yourself. I am supported even in stillness. Say it again in the quiet of your mind. I am supported even in stillness. Do not try to force an emotional reaction. You do not need to cry. You do not need to feel a wave of ecstasy. Just state the fact. Allow the words to drop into your subconscious like a pebble dropping into a deep, dark well. You might feel a warmth spread through your chest. You might feel a sudden heavy release of tension in your shoulders, or you might feel absolutely nothing. All of these responses are perfect. What you are doing is not about the immediate feeling. It is about the rewiring. You are carving a new neural pathway. You are building a new association between the concept of safety and the state of stillness. You are teaching your ancient survival brain that you do not need to be moving, running, fighting, or fixing in order to be safe. You are teaching it that support is available even when you are off the clock. This is revolutionary for a nervous system that has been conditioned to believe that rest equals vulnerability. We live in a culture that screams, if you snooze, you lose. We are taught that if we stop moving, the world will collapse. So, when you tell your body, I am supported in stillness, you are breaking a generational curse. You are unplugging from the matrix of hustle. There is another element here that carries more weight than most people realize, and that is the difference between hope and expectation. These two words seem similar, but energetically, they are worlds apart. Hope is passive. Hope looks at the future and wishes. Hope says, it would be nice if this happened, but I am not sure. Hope has doubt baked into its foundation. Expectation is different. Expectation assumes. Expectation is active. When you order a package online, you do not hope it arrives. You expect it. You do not pace by the window wondering if the delivery truck is real. You go about your day knowing it is on the way. You prepare space for it. That is the frequency of expectation. When you unconsciously expect disappointment, you prepare for it. You brace for impact. You hold tension in your jaw and your stomach. You rehearse the argument before it happens. And that tension becomes the lens through which you interpret every single signal from your environment. Your expectations are not just neutral predictions, they are commands. They are active instructions to your subconscious about what to manufacture. When you expect difficulty, your subconscious, like a loyal retriever, goes out and hunts for difficulty. It scans the room, scans the email, scans the conversation, looking for the one thing that confirms your bias. And because you are looking for it, you will always find it. Not because difficulty is more present than ease, but because your receiver is tuned to that specific channel. Think of it like a radio. The radio waves for every single station, classical, jazz, rock, news, static, are all present in the room with you right now. They are occupying the same space. You are not creating the music by turning the dial. You are simply selecting which frequency to amplify. Your expectations are the dial. If you are tuned to the frequency of struggle, you can pray for ease all day long, but your radio will only play the song of struggle because that is where the tuner is set. So how do we move the dial? How do we shift from expecting a fight to expecting a flow? You do it by collecting evidence. You do it by noticing the glitches in your matrix of struggle. I want you to try a practice this week that will begin to shift your expectations at the root level. Every evening, before you close your eyes, I want you to recall 3 things that went better than expected that day. I am not asking for miracles. I am not asking for lottery wins. I am asking for the micro moments, the things you usually ignore. Maybe the traffic was lighter than you thought it would be. Maybe the coffee tasted slightly better than usual. Maybe a stranger held the door for you. Maybe you found a parking spot right in front. These tiny moments are cracks in the wall of your old reality. They are positive deviations from your negative expectation. Most people ignore these moments. They say, "Oh, that was just luck," and they move on to focusing on their problems. I want you to stop ignoring them. I want you to obsess over them. Each time you acknowledge one of these moments, you are widening the crack. You are letting more light in. You are teaching your subconscious, look, see, good things happen. Ease is possible. The world is not always out to get us. Over time, this practice rewires your predictive machinery. Your system begins to anticipate positive deviation as the norm rather than the exception. And when your system expects something different, it creates something different. It begins to collapse the wave function in favor of benevolence. Your consciousness is listening with unusual clarity at night. When the noise of the world dissolves, when the defenses drop, that instruction, "I am supported," goes straight to the core. So, as you drift off tonight, let that be the final message on the screen of your mind. You might sense a shift, a wave of calm, or you might just fall asleep. It does not matter. The seed has been planted. And this leads us to the final barrier we must dismantle, the fear of uncertainty. Most humans are terrified of the unknown. We have been trained to seek certainty at all costs. We want the guarantee. We want the roadmap. We want to know exactly how, when, and where our desires will manifest. But here is the truth. Uncertainty is not the enemy of manifestation. Certainty is. When you are absolutely certain about how your life must unfold, you close the door to every other possibility. You eliminate the infinite options in favor of the one narrow path your limited mind can conceive. You tell the universe, it has to look exactly like this, or I don't want it. But when you can hold uncertainty without anxiety, when you can stand in the void of the unknown without collapsing into fear, you become dangerous. You become limitless. You open yourself to outcomes that are mathematically better than anything you could have planned. You allow life to surprise you. This is what faith actually means. Faith is not blind belief in a deity. Faith is the trust that there is an intelligence orchestrating the movement of your life that has access to more information than you do. It is trusting that when the fog is thick and you cannot see the path is still there. It is trusting that the uncertainty is not a void of darkness, but a field of infinite potential waiting for your command. You are learning to exist in the quantum haze. You are learning that just because you cannot see the bridge, it does not mean it is not forming beneath your feet with every step you take. In this final, critical section of our transmission, we must confront the silent architect that controls every single door you walk through. We need to talk about identity. I'm not talking about the name on your driver's license. I am not talking about your job title, your zodiac sign, or the story you tell at dinner parties. I am talking about the quiet, invisible character you have agreed to play in the theater of this life. Every single moment of your day, even right now as you listen to my voice, you are operating from a specific identity setting. Even when you are resting, even when you are waiting in line at the grocery store, there exists a version of you that feels known. It feels solid. And your consciousness works tirelessly, burning massive amounts of energy to maintain the consistency of that version. Your identity is not who you actually are. That is the great cosmic joke. Identity is not a fixed object. It is a frozen habit. It is who you have agreed to be based on the accumulated evidence of your past history. Every experience you have ever had, every rejection, every failure, every moment of shame, every moment of glory, your subconscious has been taking diligent notes. It has built a dossier. It has constructed a profile. And once this profile solidifies into a belief system, it becomes a filter through which all new reality must pass. This is the gatekeeper. Your subconscious asks a simple question every time a new opportunity approaches. Does this match who we believe we are? If the answer is yes, the door opens. If the answer is no, the door slams shut. It does not matter if the opportunity is good for you. It does not matter if it is the love of your life or the fortune you have been praying for. If it conflicts with the internal identity of someone who struggles, your system will reject it. It will distort it. It will find a way to sabotage it. This is why people often self-destruct right at the edge of a breakthrough. You see it all the time. Someone wins the lottery and loses it all in 2 years. Someone finally meets a kind partner and picks a fight to drive them away. Why? Because the breakthrough required them to become someone they do not recognize. The success felt wrong to the nervous system. The love felt unsafe to the identity of the abandoned child. The subconscious would rather maintain the consistency of misery than allow the unfamiliarity of joy. When you identify as someone for whom life is difficult, existence bends over backward to present you with challenges. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because the universe is a mirror. It has to reflect your self-conception. When you identify as someone who is perpetually almost there, existence keeps you in the waiting room of almost. You get the interview, but not the job. You get the date, but not the relationship. You get the idea, but not the funding. This happens because consciousness values familiarity over happiness. Let that sink into your bones. Your biological machine does not care if you are happy. It cares if you are consistent. It wants to know what to expect. Think about how this plays out in the microcosm of your daily life. You receive a genuine compliment. Someone tells you that you are brilliant, or beautiful, or talented. What do? Do you drink it in? Do you let it nourish your cells? Or do you deflect it? Do you make a joke? Do you say, "Oh, this old thing," or "I just got lucky"? Why do you do that? You do it because accepting the compliment would create a conflict with your internal identity as someone who is not worthy of praise. To accept it would be to threaten the structure of your reality. You receive an opportunity, and instead of moving toward it with the swagger of a king or queen, you hesitate, you create obstacles, you procrastinate. Why? Because seizing it would conflict with your identity as the underdog, the victim, or the one who is always left behind. Your identity is running the show, and 90% of the time, you are completely asleep at the wheel. This is why change feels so incredibly uncomfortable, even when it is positive. We think we fear failure, but often we fear success even more. Success asks you to die. It asks you to release who you have been, and to the primitive mind that registers as death, it registers as a loss of self. But here is the truth that changes the game. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding a skin. You are upgrading the avatar. Identity is not permanent. It is reinforced. And what reinforces it most is repetition. Not the repetition of words, but the repetition of what you allow yourself to receive. You are addicted to your current identity. I know that sounds harsh, but it is true. You are addicted to the chemical rush of your own familiar emotions. You are addicted to the struggle because the struggle is what you know. Your nervous system has associated this specific identity with survival. Any deviation from it triggers a subtle alarm, a magnetic pull back toward the known center. This is why affirmations alone are often so weak. You can stand in front of a mirror and repeat, "I am a millionaire," 10,000 times. But if your identity is anchored in scarcity, if your nervous system is wired for poverty, your subconscious will simply laugh. It will find ways to prove the affirmation wrong. It is not trying to be cruel. It is trying to keep you sane by keeping your internal world matching your external world. So, how do we hack this? How do we shift the identity without fighting a war against our own mind? The shift happens when you update the identity through permission and evidence. Tonight, I want you to consider a radical possibility. What if you simply gave yourself permission to be the version of you for whom things work out? Not eventually, not after you lose the weight, not after you get the degree, not after you heal every trauma, but right now, tonight. This does not mean pretending or faking it till you make it. It means responding differently to the data of your life. It means that when something aligns, you allow it to matter. You allow it to register. You stop dismissing the good. You stop saying that was just luck. You say quietly and firmly, "I acknowledge this. This is for me. This is like me." This is how identity transforms. Your subconscious learns from evidence, but evidence does not need to be dramatic to be effective. It simply needs to be acknowledged. This is the true mechanics of gratitude. Gratitude is not just a polite spiritual practice, it is a tool for identity shifting. It trains your system to recognize support. When you notice what is working, your consciousness begins to assume that things working is your natural state. I am going to give you a powerful protocol for identity shifting. It is simple, but do not underestimate it. Every night this week before you sleep, I want you to complete one sentence in writing. Get a journal, a piece of paper, or the Notes app on your phone. The sentence is, "Today, I was someone who..." And then fill in the blank with a quality or an action that reflects your desired identity. Not who you wish you were in the future, but who you actually were, even for 3 seconds today. Today, I was someone who chose peace over reaction. Today, I was someone who received a compliment gracefully. Today, I was someone who trusted the process instead of panicking. Today, I was someone who noticed the beauty in the chaos. You are not fabricating these moments. You are selectively highlighting evidence that already exists, but has been overlooked because your old identity was not programmed to see it. You are building a case file for the new you. Over time, this practice builds a new archive of proof. Your subconscious begins to look at this list and say, "Oh wait, we are someone who does this now. We are someone who handles stress with grace. We are someone who attracts luck." This is who we are becoming. And as this new identity solidifies, as the cement hardens, your external reality has no choice but to shift to match it. It is the law of resonance. You begin to collapse different possibilities from the quantum field because you are no longer observing the world through the lens of lack. You are tuning into a different frequency. You are allowing yourself to receive what has always been available but was previously invisible to you. So, before you close your eyes tonight, I want you to reflect on one thing that aligned recently, even something minor, a moment of relief, a kind exchange with a cashier, a task completed with ease. Allow yourself to feel that sensation for several seconds. Do not rush past it. Soak in it. That sensation is the signature of your new timeline. That is the feeling your system is learning to recognize as home. Most people catalog their pain with obsessive high-definition detail, but they glance past their joy as if it is a blurred background. This habit must reverse. You must become as devoted to noticing what works as you have been to noticing what hurts. As you drift toward the edge of sleep, repeat this softly to yourself. I am someone reality supports. No force required. No manufactured emotion necessary. Just quiet repetition. I am someone reality supports. Your consciousness is especially open now. It is fluid. It is willing to update the operating system. You do not need to transform your entire existence in one night. You simply need to transform what you accept as possible for yourself. From this place, the reorganization begins. People will respond to you differently because your signal has changed. Opportunities will feel closer because you are no longer pushing them away with the energy of desperation. You will feel less like you are hunting and more like you are gathering. Less like you are pursuing and more like you are allowing. You will notice yourself making different choices without consciously deciding to. You will order different food. You will walk a different way home. You will decline the invitation that drains you. You will feel drawn to different environments. Your tolerance for dysfunction will plummet, and your capacity for receiving will skyrocket. And none of this will feel forced. It will feel natural. It will feel like you are finally remembering who you were always meant to be. This is not imagination. This is biology. This is how your nervous system responds when it no longer feels the need to protect you from the phantom of disappointment. You're allowed to expect positive outcomes. You're allowed to receive without earning it through blood and sweat. You're allowed to rest without justification. Now, if what I have shared with you tonight is resonating with something deep inside your chest, if you can feel this transmission touching a part of you that has been starving for permission, then I have a request. I invite you to subscribe, not just to this channel, but to this frequency. If you are ready to expand your consciousness and step into your next quantum leap, subscribe now, leave a comment below, and share this message with someone ready to awaken. Subscribe to this space where we explore the intersection of consciousness and reality. Subscribe to the reminder that you are not a passive observer, but an active creator. We are building a field here. The more of us who embody this truth, the more the world reflects that truth. We are not separate islands. We are part of a larger, interconnected web, and when you shift, you create ripples that touch everyone connected to you. Your healing helps heal the collective. As sleep approaches, release the need to control what tomorrow brings. Drop the map. Drop the steering wheel. Allow your body to do what it knows instinctively how to do. Heal, integrate, recalibrate. When you wake up, you may not notice a dramatic explosion of fireworks, but something will feel lighter. Something will be quieter. The air will feel crisper. This is how authentic transformation begins, not with a bang, but with a breath. It begins with subtle shifts in your baseline, with gentle adjustments to your expectations, with quiet updates to your identity. These small shifts compound over time into completely different realities. If this transmission has shifted something in you, consider listening to this again tomorrow morning to set the tone for your day. Re-listen until the new neural pathways are paved in concrete. And if you know someone who is standing at the same threshold, feeling the same pressure, share this with them. Be the catalyst for their shift. The version of you that is lying down tonight is not the same version that will wake up tomorrow. Every moment, you are dying and being reborn. Every moment, your cells are replacing themselves. Every moment, your consciousness is integrating new data. You are not a static statue. You are a dynamic river. So, allow tonight to be the night where you consciously choose which version of yourself to birth into tomorrow. Allow tonight to be the funeral for the version of you that believed struggle was necessary. Release your grip on who you had to be to survive, and open your empty hands to receive who you are becoming to thrive. Before you go, I want you to drop one word in the comments that captures the energy you are choosing to carry forward from this moment. Not the energy you have been carrying, but the energy you are choosing now. Is it ease? Is it trust? Is it power? Is it flow? This is your signature to the quantum field. This is your declaration. Write it down. Speak it into form. This transmission found you for a reason. You are not lost. You are exactly where you need to be. And everything that has brought you to this precise second has been preparing you for what comes next. Sleep well. Transform quietly. Wake different. The old version of you needed struggle to feel real. The new version of you understands that ease is your natural state. The old version needed proof before believing. The new version understands that belief creates the proof. The old version waited for permission. The new version is the permission. Tonight, you give yourself permission, and that changes everything. Rest now. Let go now. Become now.